Good evening to all.
Good evening. Am I visible, Sabha?
No, sir, you're just audible.
Oh, I am not able to. Please, I'm trying to. Okay, I'll restart.
Okay, sir. Good evening to everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Sir, shall we start?
Yeah, Sabha, I don't know why this camera is not switching on. Maybe you can start. I'll try to get in the meanwhile.
Sure, sir. So, good evening to all. I am Sabha Shireen, and I welcome you all to the ServiceSetu Academics, the premier one-stop solution for academicians. So, this is like I would like to give you a little bit introduction about what ServiceSetu Academics do. Okay, so it is a one-stop solution for academicians, researchers, and faculty members worldwide. Since we started in the year 2021, and our mission was very clear. It is empowering the academic community by informing, connecting, and upskilling them. So we are dedicated to foster academic growth by offering essential resources and opportunities for scholars and institutions. So our vision at ServiceSetu Academics is to empower academic professionals with the latest knowledge and tools they need to excel. So ServiceSetu provides timely updates on academic conferences, workshops, call for papers, and various career opportunities like faculty hiring, postdoctoral positions, and PhD admissions worldwide. So at ServiceSetu, we conduct conferences, workshops, seminars, research methodology courses, certification programs, and other awareness campaigns independently as well as in collaboration with the various leading universities and business schools across the world. And our vision is to become a trusted partner in your academic and research journey by providing essential resources and high quality professional development opportunities. We aim to make research excellence and academic success is accessible to everyone in the global education community. So what we offer? We offer a comprehensive platform featuring conferences and workshops, career opportunities, research collaborations, events, and certifications. So ServiceSetu Academic partners with the leading universities and institutions worldwide, delivering certificate programs, workshop, conferences, and seminars that foster professional growth and collaborative research. So now moving on to the today's topic of discussion, which is essential skills for successful academic career. So I would like to, it is my privilege and honor to introduce our distinguished speaker for the session, Professor Vinay Nangia, a pioneer academic leader whose illustrious career spans over decades. Dr. Nangia has been at the forefront of higher education and faculty development, serving as the guiding light for the countless academicians and researchers. As the founding professor for the Department of Management Studies at IIT Roorkee, he dedicated more than 20 years to the institution's growth and spent an additional 2 years as Emeritus Fellow. His visionary leadership also contributed to the launch of innovative academic programs at NSUT New Delhi, there also he served as Emeritus Professor. Currently, Dr. Nangia is the Professor of Eminence at Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and continues to shape the future of academia. Dr. Nangia's leadership extends to several academic and administrative bodies, which includes Board of Governance, Senate, academic councils, and Board of Studies at leading higher education institutes. His expertise is further enriched by his 13 years as a UPSC Civil Services interview panelist, offering unmatched perspectives on selection criteria and candidate positioning in competitive environments. Dr. Nangia's vast experience includes faculty recruitment for IITs, IIMs, central universities, state universities, deemed universities, both government and private. This makes him an invaluable mentor for the aspiring to excel in academic roles. His contributions have been recognized by numerous prestigious awards, which includes the Glory of India Award in 2017, Lifetime Achievement Award in Business Education Award 2015, Best Citizenship Award 2015, Shiksha Ratan Puraskar 2014, and Devang Mehta Business School Award for Best Professor in General Management 2013. With such an illustrious career and an unwavering commitment to academic excellence, Dr. Nangia stands as one of the India's most respected and celebrated academic figure. We are privileged to have him here today to share his insights, experience, and invaluable advice on navigating the path from a researcher to a distinguished academician. So please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Vinay Nangia. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sabha. Thank you very much. Somehow my camera is not working right away. Maybe I'll start it and later on I'll have to maybe restart a little bit later. Good evening, friends. I'm really privileged to be talking with you because this is an area where I think I'll break the session into two parts. The first part, we are going to cover about education in general, higher education institutions, research scholars, and early stage progression in general. But in the second part, we will go by question answer session where we will address your specific queries starting from your research journey to going up to the academic career. So in the very first part, may I ask you a question? If I ask you a question, if you were in my place and you were asked to describe what is education, which resources will you look into for finding out what is education? I mean, that's the question I'm asking. I'm sorry, my camera is not working. A little bit later, I'll switch off and switch on again and try the browser again. Maybe it might work.
You can use the chat box also to respond.
So my question is, if you were in my place and if you were to tell what is education, what resources would you have used? Yes, Shraddha, you want to say something?
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
This is Shraddha Mishra, research scholar from University of Lucknow.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, if I want to reply your question, what is education? So, according to me, sir, education is a lifelong learning, which we learn from every day, every step.
Very good.
Yes,
So,
yes, sir.
so
And sir,
I'll repeat my question. What are the resources or sources you will look into for getting the meaning of what is education?
sorry, sir, I am not able to understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not asking you what is education. I'm asking you if you want to find the answer to this question, which resources will you look into?
Okay,
May,
sir.
Understanding, right?
may I take the next one and answer?
Sir, the best resource is nature itself.
Yeah, that's very generic.
Sir, the best resource, to be honest, if we do not have much time, is of course your experience, first of all. And second is ChatGPT. No doubt, without touching ChatGPT, it wouldn't be complete, right, for this day. So that's also there as a first reference. But yeah, as our peer said, nature and our experience would actually lead to a better definition of education.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
So for definition wise, I was first referred to the Google. Just type about
Sir, NPTEL courses and
Sir,
Mathematica.
I was expecting you to go to Google, but I want more authentic resource,
sir,
because you can always say Google is a very open general
sir, we
source.
can,
We
sir,
can
we
use
can,
Google Scholar and also refer to the other
Your
recent
environment. Your
reference.
environment is the best resource.
sir, policies as well. What our government policy says about it.
If Shraddha, you are from Lucknow University. If I ask you, if I want some authentic information about Lucknow University, what will you look into? Can you tell me that?
sir,
Their website.
Again, that's an answer just like Google search. I want
So the policy, vision, mission, and the government policy. What is the institute policy? What is the government
Is it
policy?
the institute?
where do you get the government policy?
What is the policy about our government has regarding education? And if I want to know about an organization, I would go and visit the vision and mission of the education
Ministry.
institute. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
So our
Sorry,
library.
sir, but I would like to differ a bit as compared to Google, but a specific site like University of Lucknow's own website, I guess that will provide more focused information, like when it is established, the faculties.
But within website, what will you look into within website?
So there will be different options there. No, if we want to look about the in general detail, then there will be about section.
All right. Now to close this discussion, otherwise this will go unending. Let me react to the question of Lucknow University. First of all, if I want to know, I think the sound is सिस्टम ऑफ कर दीजिए मेरे ख्याल से दो जगह चल रहा है. So if I want to know specific information about Lucknow University, which is authentic and which is correct, the right place is to go to the annual report of Lucknow University. That's the right place. Now, when we talk about education, the options we have, you go to dictionary, you go to encyclopedia, of course you go to Google, no doubt. Of course you go to ChatGPT. Of course you go to Government of India website or Ministry of Education. You might find the meaning of the word education. You may not find. In fact, it's not there. And somebody said very rightly that you see the policy document. So if I want to understand what is the perspective on education by Government of India, I think I should go to National Education Policy and read it from there. What do they talk about education? That could be and should be the most authentic way to understand education, because the whole policy is built upon that. So for us, that could be the right resource. So that's my way of looking at things. So if I were to take this talk, I will go to dictionary, I'll go to encyclopedia. Of course, I'll go to Google and ChatGPT also. But more importantly, I'll pick up the definition from National Education Policy. Okay. I hope that is clear. Now, the next thing is, if you go to National Education Policy, any policy, where does it draw from? Can anybody tell me where does it draw from? If I were Dr. Kasturi Rangan, what would be my starting point?
Space.
That's a good one. I'm happy you didn't say space and time both. So that would be more accurate. So,
Sir, research is must for every policy. Whatever you want to make, you at least you need to do some groundwork or
very good.
anything.
So what do you do? What do you look at?
Sir, at the elementary level, since I gave this answer, education policies, I think I would look at the elementary level.
No, I mean, like if I am Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan and I have to start working on it, what would be my starting point? Obviously,
First of all,
education
we have good
from
team.
basic primary education, that goes without saying. But in terms of my starting my work,
So maybe how many students that the institute can cater?
it's not clear. Please, can you speak again?
Sir, the number of institutes, the number of students that the institute can cater.
Somebody has
What all
written
courses?
previously published literature. I'm very happy. So I think what you need to look at is the past. That is the history.
Annual report, sir.
Sir, actually, it
Annual
is the
reports and data.
policies that have been already devised and how they have
Absolutely.
performed through the data.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you look at the past policies and then only you start working, because unless you know the past, unless you know the history, unless you know the background, and whether you know it from the annual reports of the Ministry of Education or wherever, whatever sources, but you got to know what the existing policy is. If you don't know what is the existing policy, how can you frame a new policy? So you have to get into the history of or the background of the policy, and then only you start working. So one of the beauties of our National Education Policy 2020 is they have used the word it is in continuum. That means it is in continuation. That means the old policy is not or destroyed. The new policy is in continuation of the old policy with changes and modifications and new ideas and new suggestions. So this is what, anyway, since we are talking about policy, let me ask, what is the policy? What is the policy?
Sir, policy is a plan to deal with routine task.
Okay, then what is plan?
Planning to decide future course of action.
Good. Anybody else? What is the policy?
A course of principles and actions to achieve the goals, I believe.
Very good. Very good. But not complete.
It is
Planning is like a bridge to go from the current situation to where you want to go. Sorry if I'm
A set of framework to be followed.
I'm very happy. Almost all of you are giving correct answer, but it is not complete.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, I think it will be drawn from the budget also, like what we are planning to do.
No, I'm asking a very generic question. What is policy? I'm not asking about education policy or anything. I'm just asking question. What is policy?
Policies are basically a guideline which is provided by any institution or any government institution or any budgetary firm, sir. I think so.
Very good. Now let me. Yeah.
So
Yes.
policy is a broad guideline for dealing with the routine problems or situations.
Yeah, you're partly right. I mean, to again cut short this discussion, let me tell you. Let me give you a live example. The political parties go for election. Okay, in a democracy, they go for election, and when they go for election, they take what is called a manifesto with them. What is the manifesto?
Operating procedure and the
Plans and
principles.
actions.
Manifesto is a set of promises made to people. We will do that, we will do this, we'll change this, we will do that, etc. Manifesto is nothing but a set of promises. Now, having won the election, the party which makes the government has to convert those promises into action. Okay? They have to convert those promises into action. Now you become the prime minister of the country or minister in a particular department like education, and you have to fulfill the promise which you made to the people. You have to make a policy. Okay. Now this policy, in very simple terms, please remember this sentence. In one sentence, policy is nothing but a statement of intent. Policy is nothing but a statement of intent. Honesty is the best policy. Now, when I say honesty is the best policy, it does not have guidelines, it does not have framework, it does not have rules, it does not have anything. It is a statement of intent. So policy is nothing but a statement of intent. And in order to convert that statement of intent into action, you have to frame rules, regulation, laws, guidelines, and all those things together will help you fulfill the promise which you had made through the policy which we are talking here. So I just wanted to bring in perspective what is a policy, because before we talk about national education policy or any policy, we should know what is a policy. I hope this point is clear.
Yes, sir.
All right. So policy is clear. Now, when we talk about universities, very often we talk about terms like statutes. We talk terms like regulation. We talk terms like rules. So there are rules, regulations, laws, and statutes. Now, what is the difference between a rule and regulation? or regulation and law or act, or between act and statute? So any one of you, what are the difference in these?
Sir, could I please?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I can tell the difference between rule and law.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, basically, rules are basically the written record which is notified by the government. But when we talk about the law, it is no, it is passed by the it is passed by the parliament. After that, it become law.
Very good. Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Last part was very clear. What is
Sir,
regulation?
So mostly rules are made to, abide by the law, to, keep the law
Sir,
in
for
the
sir, for
order.
example, sir, for
Rather.
example, sir,
Yeah.
for example, if we are taking a example of traffic rules, then we can break it. But whatever written in the constitution or whatever is passed by the parliament, we have to follow that, and we can't break that.
Very, very good example, but not very correctly put. You can't break the regulation. That's not the right thing to talk about. But your example is very good. That if there is a speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour while driving your vehicle on a particular highway, that is a regulation. Mind it. That is neither rule nor law. Now, this regulation you have framed, speed limit 60 kilometers per hour, is a regulation. So regulation applies to a set of people, not to an individual. It applies to a set of people, which is generally large in number. Okay. So regulation is a subset of law. So this speed limit is within the law of or the act of Motor Vehicle Act. So Motor Vehicle Act empowers you to frame regulation that the speed limit should not be more than 60 kilometers per hour. So please remember that the act, as you rightly said, is framed by the legislature. So whether it is through the central government or federal government, or whether it is through the state government or whichever government. So the legislature frames the laws which are called acts. And when a particular resolution or bill is passed and converted into act, it is called enactment. So you have an act. Within the act, you have regulations. So for example, PhD admissions. Now there are regulations for PhD admissions because it will apply to all the students who are taking admission in PhD in the university. So the regulation is not different for chemistry as compared to commerce. So regulations applies to a large set of people. Now, for example, attendance, 75% attendance, that is a regulation. But within regulation, at a smaller level, at a lower level, the rules can be framed. Now, the department head may frame a rule that nobody will eat in the classrooms. Now, this is not a regulation. This is a rule. So, rule is a subset of regulation. Regulation is a subset of act. And in academic world, when all these things are put together, in academic world in university, we call them statutes. Together, we call them statutes. So if you are in the education world, please remember, you must read and know the statutes of your university or your organization or your institute, wherever you are working or wherever you are studying. So that's a very important portion of the governance of that institution. I hope this point is clear. If there are any questions, I'll take it up right.
Sir, how can we get access to particular university statues? Is it a public document available on website?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And that brings me to another topic, which is called registrar. Okay. Just remind me, Sahil, if I would not have answered your question, I'll come back to that. Let me take this first. What is a registrar? In any university, not university, registrar of properties, registrars of companies, registrars of partnership, registrar of land. Tehsildar is called sub-registrar of assurances, for example. What is the meaning of the word registrar?
Sir, I think in my understanding, registrar is which represents the government or the which we call the state, not the political but administrative.
Yeah, partly you're right.
So
Anybody?
I think registrar is the person who keeps document records of anything.
I think 1% at a time. Poonam, please.
Sir, who keeps
1% at a time, yeah.
The registrar is a person who's keeping official records or registers the updated policies and announcements.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else? Yeah.
Sir, I think the registrar will be the person who will be responsible for implementing and taking care that all regulations are implemented and followed by the institute.
Very good. Anybody else? Yeah.
Sir, registrar is a person who has been responsible for any government department, and he can enter into the agreement on behalf of the government from that particular institution with any other legal organization.
Very good. So I think most of you have said what you said is correct. So registrar in case of university is more like a protocol officer, if I may use the word. That's one part of it. But my question was larger. What is a registrar? Now, please remember the difference between an accountant and a registrar is accountant keeps books of accounts which are not open to public. But registrar keeps all documents which are open to public. So whether he is registrar of companies, whether he is registrar of partnership, whether he is registrar of assurances, like land records are open to public by payment of small fees. And here also registrar keeps all the books and registers of the university, and they are open for inspection by public. That is the true meaning of the word registrar. That registrar, in addition to what all you said, everybody said correct, aspect of what is a registrar. But more importantly, registrar is a person who maintains all these documents. Now, coming back to Sahil, what was your question, if I may ask you again?
So my question was where we can get these statues of particular universities.
Correct. Now, it is more or less mandatory. Again, I'm using more or less mandatory in the sense websites are not a mandatory document of any university or any institution. Nevertheless, any institution which is having a website will by default have statutes there, by default, because statutes are public document. So this is not something which can be hidden or which should be hidden. And not only that, even universities will have to have annual reports which are available for display. For example, today only I had gone through the annual report of University of Mumbai 22-23 was available, which I was reading. So annual report is one document, which is a legal document, which will give you true and realistic and complete picture, which is authentic, not the website. Another is statutes, which will give you rules, regulations, and laws relating to that particular institution. The idea of talking these two things was to make you aware that unless you know these things, I mean, I don't think you will be really equipped to handle the things. Answers like Google or website are very incomplete, and that's like a student will go that way. But as a teacher, as a scholar, you should always go to the authentic source of information. And ChatGPT, for that matter, ChatGPT sometimes now gives a source, but many times it picks up sources which are not authentic. So my suggestion to all of you is, please read the statutes of your institution, which is very important. And the second thing is, please do go through the annual reports wherever available. This is a beautiful document. Annual report is not only for a company, but any institution for that matter, including universities. I hope this point is clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any questions in the chat box?
No, sir.
Okay.
The questions.
Now we go to the next thing, and that is very important. What is education? We have not talked about this. What is education? Today we are going to cover what is education, what is the purpose of education, who are the stakeholders in education, what is the difference between school education and higher education, what is the difference between education and academics, what is PhD, and why it is called PhD. So I'm starting with what is education. Anyone, what is education?
Sir, education is about bringing change in behavior.
Very good. That's a very good answer. And that's a very good answer, but not complete again. Yeah.
Sir, education is about transforming in every aspect of life, may it be skills or behavior or overall development of a personality.
Very good. So the keyword is overall development in personality. All right. Now,
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, education is the process of giving out the information that we have acquired to the future generation.
Okay.
In a systematic manner. So
very nice. So you use the word process. So let me tell you, you can use education as a process. You can use education as a system. You can use education as an institution. You can use it as a verb. To educate is a verb. So let me start with education as a process. Now, education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. I'll repeat, education as a process is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. Now, if I talk about education as a system and education as an institution, let me cover first. Education as an institution world over is considered to be an institution which is not for profit. So not for profit is a key word, and education as an institution is a social institution. It's not a business institution, it's not a commercial institution, it's not a religious institution, it is not a industrial institution. And when you use the word to educate as a verb, it means to give intellectual, moral, and social instructions to someone, typically at a school or university level. Again, I repeat, to educate as a verb is to give intellectual, moral, and social instruction to someone, typically at a school or university. Now, there's something you would know, in fact, most of you should be knowing, what is the difference between academia and education? Because I mean, when I started my career, I was quite surprised because academics word is hardly used in school and education word is mostly used in school. Why is this difference?
So academia is a more formalized structure, which is aimed at disseminating education. Because education may happen informally too. Like whatever I may learn it from my mother or my parents or my family too. But when we talk of academia, it is a specialized, framework which we are looking to formalize the education.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think education is about teaching and learning, and academics is also about in teaching and learning. We include research and development in that also.
Very good. Again, I think I'll cut it short. Please remember, education as a concept is holistic. It is a system that begins with admissions and comprises of classes, examination, registrations, enrollments, timetable, hostel, convocation, right up to migration certificate and transfer certificate. Whereas academics, on the other hand, deals with curriculum, conference papers, syllabus making, research papers, and scholarship. Education may be viewed as a system having multiple stakeholders. It includes, in fact, stakeholders include parents, stakeholders include government, stakeholders include society, stakeholders include non-teaching staff, whereas academic requires intellectual stimulus and rigor. So this is another difference between education and academics. And that takes me to another question. What is the difference between school education and higher education? And this is very important. The difference between school education and higher education.
I think, sir, at school level, the teacher is more involved in teaching the students.
Very
But
good.
at the higher education level, the teacher is more of a helper who just directs the students to go for knowledge, and the students learns by himself or herself.
Very
That
well.
the role of a teacher or educationer at a higher level is just to guide students,
Very well.
not to just, yes, sir. That's it.
Yes, sir. In case of higher education, the relationship between the teacher and of the educator is somehow of partnership. Like they both are equally means they are both equally involved. Whereas in case of um, school education, it is not so. More is the role of teacher.
Wonderful. Very well said. Now, again, I would like to close this discussion on this, that primary education largely covers literacy and foundational knowledge.
Knowledge.
Primary education largely covers literacy and foundational knowledge, including numerical ability. Whereas middle and secondary education moves on with subject-specific, wider general knowledge with some options to choose from at a secondary level. When you go to undergraduate level, it offers you options of various streams to choose from, whereas postgraduate level offers advanced knowledge and specialization. Doctorate level education deals in research. Now, please understand the fundamental difference between school education and higher education is that higher education enables furtherance and creation of knowledge, whereas at middle and senior secondary level and even at undergraduate level, it is imparting of knowledge. So please remember, it is creation of knowledge which is done in research, which is what higher education aims at. And that's one of the reason when I started my career as a teacher, I was surprised that I used to wonder if somebody has done MSc botany, why that person is not called doctor of botany, or somebody has done MA English, why that person is not called doctor of English, but why that person is called doctor of philosophy. If somebody has done MBA, the person is not called doctor of management, the person is called doctor of philosophy. So this used to bug me as a person who joined academia at a later age and later stage. And in school, B.Ed is compulsory for a teacher. To be B.Ed is compulsory for a teacher and not compulsory for a teacher in higher education. But PhD was earlier desirable. Now it is compulsory. So this is something which used to bug me as a beginner in the academic world, and so I used to wonder, why is it so? So now most of the people in this program are either PhD or they are doing PhD. Can any one of you tell me answer to this question which I posed just now, that why this degree is called Doctor of Philosophy? Any one of you?
Because we create knowledge, which is a form of philosophy.
Sir, actually, after reaching this, yeah,
Because we are the doctors of education or academics.
no, after you
Because
reach this
in
particular
case of
level of education,
So
you
I think
contribute to the
as
subject
you
instead of learning from it.
as you said, it is like creating a knowledge, creating a pool of knowledge that higher education looks up to. So as a PhD, we are supposed to create something that will be, adding value or adding enhanced view to already existing or something very new for
Wonderful.
our students in the
So
higher education.
you have described very nicely that research means addition to the existing body of knowledge or reinterpretation of the existing body of knowledge. Very well said. Yeah, somebody was saying something. Yeah.
Sir, can I?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. As per as my knowledge is concerned, I think PhD in philosophy it is called, whether we are doing in any subject area, but it is mentioned as PhD in philosophy. Basically, because we are in PhD, we are not like rectification like in other courses. What we do is we are given a set of material and we need to just mug up that and appear for the examination. But the difference in case of PhD is what here we need to create something new, or we are looking for something new, and it is not defined by anything which has already been existential. So we are philosophical in that case.
Very good. What is the meaning of the word doctor?
Finding solution to a problem.
That you're taking the medicinal doctor's approach. Okay, let me tell you, it's a Latin word. Doctor means to teach. Please remember that.
A
Meaning,
scholarly conversation among people, which can be referred to as research.
all right. So in Latin, doctor means to teach. Philosophy, why do we call it philosophy? Because philosophy is the foundation of critical thinking. It brings the important questions to the table and works towards an answer. Philosophy also is called love of knowledge or love of wisdom. Philosophical methods, now this is very important. Philosophical methods include questioning, critical discussion, rational argument, and systematic presentation. These methods facilitate the work of research. Philosophy helps in analyzing concepts, definition, arguments, and problems. It also helps in synthesizing a variety of views or perspectives into one unified whole. And the statement made by Aristotle, please don't forget, is the single most important statement. As a research scholar, you should remember. Aristotle said, he observed, that the validity of any argument can be determined by its structure rather than its content. Please remember, your guide, your supervisor has so many research scholars under him or her, and they are all doing work in different domains. And yet the supervisor is able to guide them because he is concentrating on the process. And the process involves critical thinking. It involves logic. It involves taking 360-degree view of the situation and experimenting and finding out the truth, whether through review of literature and then hypothesis, then analysis, then inference, then conclusion, then recommendation or whatever. So the processes used are much more important than the content itself. That is what Aristotle said. So that perspective is very important to know, which is the perspective of philosophy. That is why you guys are called Doctor of Philosophy. Now, before I close this session, let me comment on 2-3 other things. One of those things is our Ministry of Education was earlier called Ministry of HRD, Human Resource Development. Why was it called Ministry of HRD and why the name is changed to Education Ministry? That's the question.
Sir, may I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, earlier when it was named Ministry of HRD, from the very beginning, it was named as Ministry of Education itself. Then Prime Minister, when Sri Rajiv Gandhi came in, so he had some thought in his mind why we should only call it as education, because education is somehow a smaller concept. When we use HRD, means human resource development. So by this way, they just want to to say address every aspect of society, not only those who are benefited for or pursue education, but total human resource development. But that doesn't happen. So eventually government again turned it and named it as Ministry of Education. So this was the logic behind it.
Very good. So I'm very happy to hear that, because you have, as they call it, hit the nail on the head. And it's very interesting. It was, I think, 1985 that Rajiv Gandhi became the Prime Minister, and in their manifesto, when they went for the election, they had stated they will merge ministries which are having synergy. So they thought labor and Ministry of Skill was not there at that time. Social welfare, labor, and few other ministries, including education, should be merged into one, and it should be called Ministry of HRD. So immediately after winning the election, they changed the name of the ministry, and ministry became Ministry of HRD. This was 1985, 1986. But nothing changed The departments remained same because every ministry has departments. The departments remained same, and the bureaucrats did not let the merger of ministries take place because that would have affected their number of secretaries would have gone down, etc., etc. So Ministry of HRD was just a name, but it was still working as a Ministry of Education. So Dr. Kasturi Rangan in his report in the National Education Policy clearly stated that the name of the ministry should be changed to Ministry of Education. And that was the first step taken by the government to change the name of the ministry from Ministry of HRD to Ministry of Education. So that is the backdrop to it. So this ministry has two departments. One department is called Department of School Education and Literacy, and the other department is called Department of Higher Education. Now, who amongst you can tell me which is the largest and the biggest and the highest body of education in our country other than Ministry of Education?
CBSE?
UGC?
No.
UGC?
No.
UGC.
CBSE,
The
sir.
Department of Science and Technology.
NCERT.
No, 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 no.
Director of Science and
And this is very important because it's very funny. This body was made in 1920.
Central Advisory Board of Education.
Absolutely wonderful. CABE, Central Advisory Board of Education, which is chaired by the Minister of Education. And it includes UGC chairman, NCRT chairman, AICT chairman, and prominent educationists in the country, including vice chancellors and directors, etc. So CABE is the highest body because it takes care of both school education as well as higher education. It is over and above CBSE and NCRT and UGC and AICT, etc. So CABE, again, the National Education Policy had recommended that CABE should be reconstituted and reorganized. Unfortunately, the last meeting of CABE took in place in 2019, when it approved the NEP 2020. After that, nothing has happened, unfortunately. That's also true. Okay, so the highest body is CABE. Now we come to, before I close this session, I want you to come back to the topic of education, which I was telling you, and somebody very rightly said, full development of human personality. Now, this is very interesting that NEP 2020 has covered what is given in a report submitted by Jack Dellers. Jack Dellers submitted his report to UNESCO in 1996, and the name of the report was Learning, the Treasure Within. And this was in the context of International Commission on Education for the 21st Century, which was chaired by Jack Dellers. And this report says that education is based on 4 pillars. And please remember this, because your entire NEP is based on this. So if you will remember this, it will be easier for you to remember things. The first pillar is learning to know. And when we say learning to know, it means acquiring a body of knowledge and learning how to learn so as to benefit from the opportunities education provides throughout life. So learning to know is the first pillar of education. And that brings me to a question: what is pedagogy? Some people wrongly pronounce as pedagogy. It is pedagogy. What is pedagogy?
Sir, it is the art of teaching.
Approach to teach.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Any other description?
Methods of teaching.
Art of knowing child's behavior and
It refers to science of teaching.
Okay. What else?
It
Pedagogy.
basically formulate the techniques and way in which a teacher is supposed to conduct the classes, or the way it should be.
Okay, very good. So pedagogy is a term which we use it very often in our day-to-day talking. And pedagogy is one single most important thing teacher has to look into. What is the meaning of the word peda?
So related to children or child.
Very good. Peda is a Greek word, and peda means child. And Goji, as you know, is the subject or the discipline
Study,
of
field of study.
study is the right word. So pedagogy is basically it has evolved from the child. So teaching learning process starts from the children, right from the childhood. So pedagogy term is commonly used. And next to pedagogy, what is the term which could be used and which is used?
So it is andragogy.
Andragogy.
And andra means?
Adult.
Adult.
Men.
Very good. So
Human.
pedagogy to andragogy, what is the next one? That's very
Pedagogy.
important.
Pedagogy.
Sorry?
Geology.
Sir, pedagogy, andragogy, and then eudagogy is there.
What is
Eudagogy
eudagogy, Anushri?
So when I do not know the exact term, but it is like when it is we are not dependent on any facilitator for our studies. We with our own cognizance do our acquire our knowledge. Basically, the researchers and all.
Wonderful, wonderful. I had
For self-paced learning.
sorry, eudagogy. HEU.
Autonomous learning. The
So
student itself.
eudagogy must be good bringing up.
Eudagogy is learning to learn, self-learning. That is what is eudagogy. Now it's very interesting. I must share with you. I was attending the 3rd World Quantum Day on 14th April 2024 in India Habitat Center, which was hosted by Professor M.M. Pan. And first World Quantum Day was celebrated on 14th April 2022. And quantum is the next thing which is coming. I mean, after AI and ML, I think the biggest change which is coming is quantum. Anyway, not going into that, but he was making a statement which is very interesting. And I will never forget that statement. So Professor Pant was telling somebody, you know, teachers are going to become more and more costly. Teachers are going to become more and more costly, and the learning is going to become more and more cheap. So learning is going to become cheaper. So that is what is eudagogy. So you see, we will have to move from where we were in terms of what we call learning to know. We have to move from learning to know to learning to learn. So pedagogy should ultimately evolve into eudagogy. That is bound to happen. So the first pillar was learning to know. The second pillar is learning to do. Now, learning to do is not just acquiring occupational skills, like a surgeon is good in surgery, but also the competence to deal with many situations, work in teams, and a package of skills that enables one to deal with the various challenges of professional life. For example, the attendance to the patient. Now, the surgeon should be able to handle them. If something goes wrong in the surgery, he should know how to handle the patient's attendance. So learning to do is not only professional skills, but other skills, and it will also include soft skills, for example. And the third pillar, which Jack Deller had come to conclude, is learning to live together. That developing an understanding of other people and an appreciation of interdependence in the spirit of respect for the values of pluralism, mutual understanding, and peace. That is learning to live within society and appreciation of the perspectives and values of others. That is what is learning to live together. And the fourth pillar, again, is very, very interesting and very important. And to my mind, that is the crux of education. And that is learning to be. Learning to be. Developing one's personality and the ability to act with autonomy, judgment, and personal responsibility, while ensuring that education does not disregard any aspect of the potential of a person: memory, reasoning, aesthetic sense, physical capacities, and communication skill. None of these. So learning to be, I mean, I am reminded of a very interesting, I am amongst the oldest users of internet in this country. In 1995, when I used to use internet, there was somebody is asking what was the definition of Aristotle, sir. Madam, you will be getting all the notes and slides from Sabha. So you'll get all these information in a PPT, not to worry. Okay. So coming back to...
Yes, sir, I will share.
In short, it is structure over content. Shimona Shriya has very clearly stated. That
Yes,
is
sir.
anyway, again, come back to 1995, when I used to use internet, there were only 7 dial-up lines in Delhi. So night 11 o'clock, I used to get the line and do surfing till 3, 4 in the morning. In 1995, I was doing syllabus study of the best business schools in the world. And I came across IMD Switzerland. And I was shocked to see that in the last semester of their teaching, there was a paper on Gita. I was zapped. I'm talking of 1995. And when I went to the description portion, I was amazed to see what was mentioned was that if you don't understand yourself, how will you understand the world? So Gita was being taught to understand yourself. So ultimate objective or the essence of teaching is to be able to be yourself. I mean, in simple words, you should be autonomous. You should have autonomy of your own. Sabha, can you run through the quiz in the meanwhile? I'll try to re-enter in this browser again.
Yes, sir. Yes, because we have like 8 more topics to cover today.
Yeah. So I think this one I'm closing here. You can very quickly go through the quiz and then I'll come back. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sure. Okay, fine. So I'll run few questions. I mean, till the time sir is rejoining. So you can answer in the chat box. I mean, this is the question given by sir only. So this is the first question. So we'll be giving like 15 to 20 seconds only, just to write down if you know the answer. Which is the oldest living and operational university? When was it found and where it is located? I'll show you the answer. I mean, after 15 seconds. Yeah. Quick answer in the chat box. Fine. The answer is, I'll move to the answer. So the correct answer is the university founded in Morocco. Okay. So now moving on to the next. I mean, all these answers and quiz you will find in the PPT. We are going to mail you this complete PPT of the session here after the session. So moving on to the next question. This is it. When was University of Oxford established? When was the University of Oxford established?
Okay.
All right. Established in 1906. Yes, the answer is right. We have few more concepts covered in this. The University of Bologna in Italy is the oldest in Europe and was founded in 1088. And then University of Cambridge was founded in 1209. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Which is the oldest university of USA?
Harvard Business School.
We'll have the answer in few seconds.
Not business school, it's Harvard University itself, I guess.
Okay. Yes, the answer is correct. Harvard University. And next question is, which are the oldest operational universities of India? When were these universities founded? Oldest operational universities of India. What's You're right, Maheshwar. So the answer is yes, University of Kolkata, and then University of Bombay, University of Madras. You're right. So these are the few details of the University of Calcutta, University of Mumbai, and University of Madras. Now, next question is, which is the oldest university of Uttar Pradesh?
Allahabad.
Okay, Allahabad. Fine. The right answer is yes, University of Allahabad in the year 1887. Okay. So now the next question is, which are the oldest central universities of India? Which years they were founded? Central universities. Yes, the answer is Banaras Hindu University, Aligarh Muslim University, and University of Delhi. Next question is, which is the first college in India to start graduate program in commerce, and which year? Graduate program in commerce. So after that, only 2 questions are left. We have total like 9 questions. Okay, SRCC, DU. DU is the university. Fine. The answer is IIT College, Bombay, which is now Mumbai, the first college of commerce in Asia. It is established in October 1913. Okay, last second question. What is the total number of universities in India? Like, as on today? Total number of universities. Okay, so the answer is 1317, right? So out of which 54 is central universities, Institute of National Importance is 158, State Public University 461, State Private University 484, State Open University 17, Deemed University Government is 39, and Deemed University Private is 85. So total is 1317. And now next, what is the total number of schools, students and teachers in school education in India? I mean, this is like very rough. Okay, fine. So the answer is simple. I mean, it is a very big number, so the answer is not required, but in the PPT we have put it so that you can have a look at it. And you should know, like, these are the numbers which is publicly available. So we can always have a look on that. So, sir, can we like start?
Sabha, you are done. I think let's get back to question answer session straight away. Otherwise,
Yes,
that will be. I think some people have already pointed out that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we have like around 8 questions. So we'll have it one by one.
Yeah.
Sir, is your like camera working?
No, unfortunately, I mean, I'm sorry that this is in a goof up. It's not working. So anyway, I'll answer the question.
No problem. No problem, sir. Okay. So, sir, my first question is, what is the selection process of higher education institutes in India? If you can like have a comment on that, because
Yeah,
since
sure. In fact, let me tell you, the process is very different and varied according to the institution it is. For example, central universities will have a totally different process. For example, state government universities will have a different process. State private universities will have a different process. Deemed universities have a different process. IITs have a different process. IIMs have different process. NIDs and NIFT has different process. So you have to understand, first of all, what is the process. And please remember, how does the process start? One is advertisement is given. Another is, it is called rolling advertisement. For example, in IITs and IIMs, you can apply at any point of time, though that does not mean that they will call you for interview at that point of time. But the moment they have got some applications collected together, they can initiate the progress. They don't have to wait for lots of things. They are quite autonomous in terms of faculty selection as far as IITs, IIMs are concerned, and to some extent NITs also. But the process is very lengthy and difficult in case of central universities and state government universities. Now there, because the number of application is huge and large, so the process also goes for different level of screening. And please understand, once you have made the application, the next level is, what are you called for? So in many of the institutions, you are called for presentation, now which is not interview. Please remember that. And you should also not forget, there are institutions like Narsi Monji or MIT University Pune, where on a rolling basis, they have a HR department which keeps calling for application and keep having first level of screening by the second level of experts, which is not interview, first level of screening through interview. So they are doing, HR department itself is doing the screening, and they are putting through the first level of interview screening, and then only the final level of screening goes through. So corporate universities like BML Munjal, like MIT, like Narsi Monji, they are having that process, which is not the case in case of government institutions. In government institutions, they don't do it in two levels, except in IIMs, where quite often they call you for informal discussion and presentation with the area chair. For example, you are applying for a finance job, so you will be asked to meet the chairman of the finance vertical, and he will interact with you. He'll send you to have coffee or lunch with other faculty members, and they will informally interact with you. And if they want, they will ask you to make a presentation. Now, this is informal part of presentation. In IITs, quite often, this is formal. So you will not be called informally. You will be called formally one day before the interview. So one day before, you are supposed to give presentation. And that's a format which many of the state universities have also tried to do. That interview process is at two level. First level screening by independent external and internal people, and second level only by external, and maybe HOD or dean, and others are external members. So this is one part of the system which will vary according to the institution in which you are applying. So you must know where are you applying and what is the process there, and which can be found out, which is not a big deal. And it is a matter of practice. It is not a matter of law. Okay. So I think that's one level of process. Going to the second level of process, wherever the level of professor is being interviewed, there's a condition that the visitor's nominee, in case of IITs, IIMs, etc., that is President of India's nominee is required. And in case of state universities, the governor, who is the chancellor of the university, his nominee is required. So very often, delay takes place in getting the nominated person from the governor's office or the president's office. So the professorial interviews are often delayed. Now, IIMs have found out the solution. They don't mix up professor selection with non-professor selection. So quite often they do assistant and associate professor separately. And of course, when they do professor, they do associate and assistant as well. So one hindrance is at the level of professor because of the chancellors or visitors nominee. So this is another level of process. Then comes the declaration of the result. In the interview board, very often, by and large, two external members sit, and generally either pro vice chancellor or dean or HOD or two of them sit, and the vice chancellor or the director of the institute is the chairman of the committee. And quite often, externals have a decent say. Quite often, externals have a decent say. But please remember, end of the day, 99.9% it is the decision of the vice chancellor or the chairman of the board, interview board. And there are situations where external may differ, but still the call is by and large with the vice chancellor. And the declaration of result again is normally done very often by the governing board which approves the result, then only the results are declared. But there are exceptions. For example, I go to Guru Nanak Dev University, where the Vice Chancellor has taken a blanket permission from the Board of Governors, and he declares the result on the spot. And immediately after interview, the candidate is sent for medical examination, and within 3 hours, the appointment letter is handed over. But that is not a routine. In routine, normally it goes through the process of chairman, Board of Governors, or whatever highest body is there. Their person signs the result, and then only result is disclosed. So this is the process. Any questions on this? You are most welcome. Any questions from the participants?
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening on this aspect of recruitment in educational institutions. I am Nitin. I'm currently in Germany, and I'm working as a research associate and a PhD candidate. And I plan to do a postdoc here for the next 2 years, and then I'm gonna come back to India. So I wanted to ask if the process of coming back to India is like, if I do a postdoc for 2 to 3 years, would I still be joining at the same level if I would have done a PhD and then joined as an assistant professor? So does the process change, or does the level of assistant professorship change based on what point I join at after my postdoc?
Nitin, first of all, let me answer the last part of your question. You will join as assistant professor only. Okay. Now, there's a question of demand and supply in the market. So there's a huge supply of PhD scholars coming from abroad in India. I'm talking not only about IITs, I'm talking about non-IIT universities also, which includes universities like SRM, which includes university like BML Munjal, where I'm actually connected. So this, I'm seeing the supply side is huge, including PhDs from IITs and IIMs. They are finding it difficult to get into private universities. I'm not talking about government universities. Government university, obviously, they have a slight edge, but that does not mean they get there, because the output in such places is so high. There's so many people coming in. So even postdocs coming back to India, this is one part of it. Second part of it is the discipline. Now, if you are in computer engineering, the chances are you will get the assistant professorship much easily. But if you are in biotechnology, the chances are that, for example, in IITs for last 10 years, I am seeing one of the criteria is if you are not published in Nature, you will not even be screened. I mean, I'm telling you such a high level of screening. Forget about interview. You will not even be screened, because the number of applicants, even 15 years back, for one position, there used to be 130 applicants. So there's so much of supply in biotechnology. So I have given two extremes, computer engineering and biotechnology. It will vary also discipline to discipline, demand and supply in the market. But by being research scholar or even postdoctoral fellow without teaching experience, I mean, forget about anything more than assistant professorship. I'm putting it very plainly. You may not like it, but that's a fact.
So
I don't know if I have answered your question, Nitin.
Yeah, sure. That clears part of it. Thank you very much, sir. And that's pretty clear. And yeah.
You can connect with me on the sidelines later on. If you have any specific queries, you can take my email ID from Sabha, or it's given in the PPT also. Yeah.
That will be really great. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you can always talk with me, because most of my students go abroad. They do research outside of India. And then, I mean, like, I do mentoring of these kind of cases very regularly. Yes, Sabha.
Yes, sir, sure. That will be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Next question is like how to prepare for assistant professor recruitment. That we will cover in our next to next topic. Another is by Ms. Jyoti Sharma. What is the procedure for recruitment of professor of practice in management institutes? Do all management institutes recruit professor of practice?
That's a very interesting question, and that's a very interesting and very difficult question. I'll tell you why. Because every university and every IIM is going in a different way. And the reasons are very different. For example, in one of the universities where I'm associated, I was giving them outstanding professor of practice, and they did not take, because they said in NIRF ranking, if a person is non-PhD, the ratio gets upset. So the person was just not taken. In another case, where I gave the outstanding person from industry, truly outstanding, and who has taught in IITs, IIMs for about 10, 15 years as guest faculty. He was not taken because they have so many applications. They put the fellow to teach executive program, executive MBA program first, and they wanted to test him out because again, the question is demand and supply. So in IIMs or in non-IIMs, it's a question of the way the university itself thinks, number one. Number two, what is the scenario of demand and supply? So there are people who are not truly qualified or doing very well. They are also professor of practice in number of institutions. But two extreme examples which I have given, where the people were outstanding, still they were not taken for the reason which I have shared with you. So professor of practice is something which UGC has given guidelines. And this is one of the things I would like to share with you. There's a difference between guidelines and regulations. Now, regulations are binding, guidelines are not binding. Whenever you go to UGC website, in fact, one of the PPTs I have shared with Sabha gives you the most important guidelines and regulations issued by UGC. It gives that with dates. So there you can see that professor of practice is a guideline matter. Now, if they say 1 lakh rupee per month salary, there are institutions, I know they are paying 3 lakhs or even 5 lakhs rupees per month. So it's a question of, perspective of that particular institution and the way they are looking at the quality of the person coming on board. So there's no fixed answers to your question.
Okay. Yes, sir. So I think this is answered next question also, why IIMs rejected candidature for faculty recruitment by saying not found suitable. So I think you have answered that also. And then they have their set criteria. So moving on to the next session, essential skill for academic success and things to consider as a person entering in PhD. Okay. So what are the essential skill for academic success and things to consider as a person entering in PhD career?
I don't know. There are so many questions in this. One part is doing PhD. Okay. What is the question on that? Doing PhD. Is there any question in that? Just read this question.
Why private universities post job and conduct interviews and later give excuses that there was excuses that demo was not good, but in actual no student was there in the class. So I think
I don't know. This answer to this question is very simple, which is my experience, because what has happened is most of the private universities have HR department. Now, in HR department, there are people, for example, in one particular university, in fact, two universities, one university I've done 3 years, another university I've done 2.5 years. And both were extremes. One was exceptionally good, one was quite bad. And the quite bad, every time I was taking interviews, I told them what kind of stuff you are putting across. I mean, they should not have been screened at the first level. So I was given to understand by the junior HR executive, sir, our job is based on how many cases we put up. Okay. तो उनकी नौकरी तो इस बात पे चलती है कि कितनी एप्लीकेशन वो पुट अप करते हैं, नहीं तो उनकी नौकरी चली जाएगी. अगर उन्होंने उन लोगों को शॉर्टलिस्ट किया है जो वर्दी नहीं थे और वो रिजेक्ट हो गए, तो द प्रॉब्लम लाइज विद द एचआर डिपार्टमेंट, नॉट विद द कैंडिडेट, नॉट विद द सेलेक्टर्स. So this situation may vary from place to place and the reasons could be totally different. But one thing I can almost assure you that last 40-45 years I have been sitting in interview boards of all kinds, whether UPSC, whether MBA admission, whether faculty selection, and I mean, I would say more than 99% selections I have seen are fair. So if somebody complains that that person has not been selected because others were unfair, very frankly, I don't buy it. There may be systemic problems, there may be other issues, but being unfair is not correct, because even the employer wants the best of the people. So I don't buy that argument.
So the last question is, what is the value of good research publications like ABDC, A-star, A category journal for assistant professor recruitment?
Well, again, it is very interesting. I think 15-20 years back, nobody bothered about research publications. Okay. In the last 15 to last almost even now, the research publications have suddenly got a lot of value, partly more recently because of NIRF ranking also, right? Now, for example, when we go to good institutions, like, let me give you an example, IMT Ghaziabad or such institutions, what do we look at is, if the person has A-star or A, we can go up to B. But many of the candidates, they write papers are accepted in C and D, and they think they have done a great job. So C and D, very frankly, largely do not mean anything, but second grade universities and third grade universities, they still mean a lot, as against not writing anything. So these papers have relative importance according to the status of the institution. For example, IIMs, A star and A is very common. So they will not care for C and D. But an ordinary university will still care for C and D because it is as against doing nothing. But research, as per latest developments, including NEP, is slowly losing the relevance and importance. Please mark my words. Please mark my words, because you are making your career now. And research may not have as much importance of publication in 5 to 10 years down the line as it has today. Mark my words.
Fine.
And you can ask me follow-up question on that if you want.
No, so we have to.
Abdul has wanted to ask something. Geetu also wants to ask something. Yes, Abdul.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
yeah.
Professor.
Abdul first, yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to ask that as someone said that they are from Germany and they are pursuing PhD, and you then said that there are a lot of incoming of postgraduate and PhD from outside India. So I am a postgraduate. I have an MBA from Jamia, and I want to pursue PhD. So if there is a lot of supply in the market and there is a very less demand of postgraduate teachers, so isn't that a very concerning thing? Should I be very concerned about that? I won't be able to get a job in a good university, or what should I do? Shall I just continue my job, or shall I just go for the PhD? So I just wanted to have
No, I think academic as a career is a decision you got to take. Okay, that's a very personal decision. Like 25 years of after my industrial and business life, I came to academia. Okay, it's a different matter. I came by accident. I did not came by desire. Now, when you decide to be in academia, then you have to plan how to go about it. And there should be reason why do you want to be in academia. Because for me, academia means love of students. For me, academia is not research. That's my interpretation, which is 99% people will think I'm talking bullshit, because higher education means research, right? So what is your reason for being in academia is the first call you have to take. Now, having decided that you want to go for academia for a moment, your next question will be, how should you go about it? Now you are doing your post-graduation, and when you have to do your research, please remember, age-wise, you are going to be a loser. So in the long run, you will become associate and full professor, little late in your age, and you should accept that fact. A lot of people in their academic career, particularly people in this congregation right now, many of them are simply vying to become professor at the earliest. To my mind, that's not the best of the approach, because even if it takes some time, you should pursue the passion more than pursue the career. And pursuing the career is also a very different thing. You want to become an educationist or you want to become an academician? If you want to become an educationist, you become HOD, you become dean, you become pro vice chancellor, you become hostel warden, you become timetable in charge, you become vice chancellor, you become education minister. That is education. But if you want to be in academics, you have to write papers, you have to go for conferences, your quality of research has to be of very high degree. That is intellectual rigor, that is academic rigor. So you got to be clear, what do you want out of life? And then comes the next question, how to go about it. Should you go abroad? Should you pursue it in India? Which kind of university you should pick up? Which kind of topic you should take? What kind of supervisor and guide you should choose? So these questions come subsequently, which if there's any other question, I'll elaborate on that. But to answer your question, first take a call, you want to be in academics or not? If you want to be in academics, what's the reason for that? For me, the reason was students, reason is students, and reason will remain student, right? For example, I got vice chancellorships number of times, I refused every time. Because for me to become vice chancellor is not important. For me to be with students is more important. So likewise, you have to take your own call. What do you want out of this career? That's very important thing. So I'll stop at that. Geetu, what is your question?
Yes, thank you so much, Professor, and thank you so much, ServiceSetu as well. Sir, I have done my PhD like in 7, 8 years back from NIT. I'm first MGRF followed by NET, and then I have joined many private universities after that, but I was not getting the desired networking, because at this stage, what of course the learners comes first to us, but at initially we need to furnish ourselves as well, not in terms of experience but in terms of knowledge as well, when we are fresh in academics. So sir, my question is that, and now I'm serving in a South African institution. I have to go and come back to India, so sometimes it's work from home, or sometimes I have to go and just see what's, if on ground demand is there, I have to go. So sir, my question is that I'm really looking forward to the tier one institutions, like of course I am NITs and IITs. I haven't applied yet to any so far because of some personal reasons, because I'm preferring remote jobs, but soon I'll be looking for applying to these institutions. However, sometimes the benchmarking criteria is, sir, really want your help with this, that apart from research being a very important benchmarks while screening, what are other benchmarks which these tier one institutions are looking forward to? If you can really help me with this. Thank you so much. Over to you, Prof.
What is your discipline, Geet?
Sir, I'm from management sciences. Specifically, I'm from human resources and behavioral science. Yeah.
Fine. Please remember, you have to look at the institution you are applying for. For example, when we talk about IIM's ABCL, the number of applicants and the quality of applicant is very high, and it is comparatively difficult to compete with people who have an excellent academic record and publication, and even age. Let me share with you, in IITs, earlier we used to take assistant professors up to the age of 35. Now, within the age of 30, we get excellent assistant professors. I'm talking about IITs, not management, IITs in general. So the age profile has come down. Now, if you are already, say, 35 plus, they will not even screen you. That's one part. Second part is what kind of IIMs. If you go to the baby IIMs, it's much easier to be screened and to be invited. Because, for example, Sambalpur or Sirmaur or Gaya, these places, children education is not there. So many good people don't go to such people, including Shillong for that matter. So the competition is much easier to get into such places. Third level, NITs. Now, NITs are known for technical education, and the management education department are rather weak or poor. And people don't know NITs for management education. So it's much easier to get into a management department of NIT. These are, I'm talking about good institutions, okay? So it depends. How do you identify which are the institution you should target? That's point number one. Number two, look at the age profile of the teachers already there. If the assistant professors are already less than 35 and you are more than 35, I think the chances of you are getting in less, because those youngsters will reject you upfront, even without you getting a chance to go for interview. Because at the first level screening, you will be rejected. So when you talk about good institution, let me give you another example. Today, there are a number of private universities, private institutions, where the salary is very high, very high. I'm using the word very high. And they are not bothered about your age. So there could be chances that it is easier to get into good universities rather than the so-called institutions of national importance. That is one. And second thing is, the way the education scenario in the country is changing, private universities are being treated at par with government universities as far as government funding is concerned. You'll be shocked to know the triple ITs have got no fundings. NIT's funding is drastically reduced. Even IIT's funding for capital expenditure has been stopped. So in due course of time, private universities will outshine these government institutions. That may take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever time it may take. But there are a number of very good private universities coming up. So don't target only so-called, so-called institutions of national importance, because there are a number of private universities which are much better than baby IIMs, even as of today. So please be careful on that. And even IITs as a brand will outshine IIMs in due course of time for a variety of reasons. I did not discuss in today's talk structure and system and governance of these institutions. If I had covered that, you would have realized that IIM system of governance is much weaker and much poorer than IITs. So in due course of time, the brand of IIT will overshoot the brand of IIM. So these are larger questions. To come back to your issue, please be very clear not to focus only on such institution where the age profile is already less and where the competition is very high. You should go for the intermediary kind of institutions. That's my suggestion to you.
Noted. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much for the clarity. Though, it is leading to so many questions further. However, looking at the platform.
Again, you can connect with me on the sidelines because this is a platform for everybody. So I need to answer others' questions, but I'll be happy to answer any of your specific questions later on the side.
Noted, Prof. Thank you so much for the great help so far. Thank you. Have a great day ahead, everyone. Over to you, ServiceSetu.
Okay. So, sir, we will move on to the next topic, how to position yourself as a strong candidate in the academia, and how to craft a strong academic CV. Is there any particular thing during the shortlisting they look into for the premier higher education institutes? I'm asking.
Well, coming to academic CV, let me share with you. The first and the foremost thing is there should be no mistakes in the CV. And very often my experience is teachers are careless in making their CV. There are grammatical mistakes, there are spelling mistakes, and as an educator, the other person gets put off, though nobody says anything on that, but that's the first reaction. Because earlier days, I remember if people were submitting photocopies as an application, it was very painful. Even older than it used to be cyclostyle copies. So one is your presentation of your CV has to be very presentable. It should give the right information in a rightful manner. The second thing is, how do you present your conferences, papers, and all that is a very important part of your presentation. Now, this is very important because if your papers are published in peer-reviewed journals or refereed journals or well-known ABDC kind of places, then it makes sense to make a mention of it. But if it is all D, better don't talk about it. But if it is a combination of B and C, please put it across. If you have 1 A star, I think you are a star anyway. If you have A, your chances of selection suddenly go up. So when you write papers, again, it's a skill. Writing of papers is a skill, not as much as knowledge. Because once you know how to write papers, then I think output comes in so many different ways. And there are various ways that could be a separate topic of discussion, which I'm not covering right now. So the quality of papers, if it is good, mention less quality, but don't mention quantity. A lot of people write in 2 pages all the conferences they have attended. Mind it and note it. Nobody reads that at all. Nobody gives you marks for attending your conferences. And most of the scholars very wrongly think that that's a very important portion of their series. So that's another. Third, and to my mind, which at least I check as a selector, is the references. Now, if you are applying for the post of assistant professor and your 2 referees both are assistant professor, then I know you are a useless person. Because if you can't even give a reference of associate or full professor or HOD or dean or vice chancellor, that means you don't even know the art of networking, right? So I am very careful with the names of the referees and the level of the referees. Let me narrate an incident. Central University of Haryana, we were taking interview in their guest house in Gurgaon, and one lady candidate came, and the vice chancellor was sitting in the center, and on the other side was Delhi School of Economics professor, and on the other side I was there. 3 of us were in the interview board. So vice chancellor was talking to the candidate. I looked at the CV, and it's a small word, so the references, when I saw one of the 2 referees was known to me. So I asked vice chancellor, sir, can you stop for a while? On the mobile phone, on the speaker phone, I got the referee connected and asked referee that such and such is sitting in front of us and she has applied for assistant professor's place in this university. So he said, who? 2-3 times he said, who? So we could make out that he doesn't know. But anyway, we said such and such, such and such 2, 3 times. And finally on the speaker phone, he said, I don't know the person. So the interview was over. So a lot of people who use references wrongly by putting any name. And when we look at the references and we see the mobile phone number and the email ID missing, we know it is a fraudulent reference. So the references is some portion which there are people like me who are very careful about. Not every selector looks at that. And somebody had asked earlier the question, what is it that is looked at the time of selection? So who is selecting is very important. If the vice chancellor is selecting, he is not looking only at your papers or your research work. He is looking at what value do you bring to my university. If you are a person who will help me in implementation of NEP, I might pick you up because of that, despite you being not so good in your research work. So the perspective changes according to who is on the other side. So that's another thing I wanted to share. I don't know, Sabha, if I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. I mean, you have answered. So how to position yourself as a strong candidate?
Sorry, there are a number of questions in the chat box. If you want, you can take some from there.
Sir, I mean, we are going to cover it. Something is related to like the full-time PhD or part-time PhD. So, I mean, we will move to that topic also.
Right.
One by one. So if you want, sir, I mean, the question is working as an assistant professor, I should go with full-time or part-time PhD? This is the question.
If you are already working, the part-time is understandable and can be done. If you are working in academia, okay. But if you are working in industry and then you are doing part-time, number one, there are 70-80% chances that PhD will not be completed. Number two, you will be doing it wrongly because you do not understand the meaning of the academic rigor. And you as an outsider think a lot about the domain. And your guide does not think anything about the domain. So there is never a proper communication between the guide and the scholar if it is from industry, if it is not from academia. If you are assistant professor and doing part-time PhD, it is taken very well. There's nothing wrong about it. But many of the universities at the time of selection count the experience of teaching, which is post-PhD. So you got to be careful. And many don't count that way. So you are taking a chance. But nevertheless, I would think that you should do PhD if you are in teaching.
Okay. So, sir, can we move to like another topic?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, sir, another topic is like related to once we got selected. So after the selection. So the question is like how to, I mean, excelling in academic teaching and classroom management, how to do that?
Wonderful. That's a very good and very important question. There are two parts to it. One is you are starting your career as a teacher. My personal take is please service all stakeholders and don't concentrate only on research. When I say all stakeholders, you are working across departments with other teachers. You should develop interdisciplinary topics and skills. You should have your followers in other department, teachers and students both. And you should be able to be meaningfully contributing to the university's goals and aims, not just your research work. This is where 90% of the budding assistant professors do the mistake. They think they will concentrate only on their research work. And especially in good institutions, I'm talking about IITs, IIMs, they are not even concentrating on teaching, they're concentrating only on research. To my mind, that's a mistake. So you must be able to service all stakeholders. That should be the beginning of your career because you will be rich in terms of your understanding and exposure. That's one thing which I am suggesting. Second is classroom teaching, blackboard or whiteboard management and things like that. I am putting it very clearly to all of you. How many of you know about Khan Academy?
Yes, right.
How many
So
of
we
you?
all very nicely know.
Yes, Rasti, what is Khan Academy?
So it's an online platform that run by Mr. Salman, and he really puts up very good educative videos. And my question was pertaining to online education only.
Yeah.
So that's why I know.
I'm so happy to hear this answer because here everybody talks about Khan Sahab of Patna, who prepares for UPSC. So this Salman Khan, quite often called Sal Khan, has been used by Bill Gates number of times. And there's a platform he has developed. It is AI assistant called Khanmigo, Khanmigo. Khanmigo is freely available. You can download it free of cost. It is available across the world, used by all American education schools around the world for last 2 years. And it is used in the classroom. So this is a teaching assistant. Now, if you guys don't get into AI, I'm telling you, you are into trouble. Now, let me give you an example. 2023, I was approached by a university asking me to teach SME financing. I said, I've stopped teaching after 2019. And please don't ask me to teach because I'm out of touch. So they said, no, you teach because you can handle startups as well as you can handle traditional bank finance. Believe me, I have taught the entire course in 2023 from ChatGPT. Entire course, starting from syllabus making to examination to evaluation, everything I did in 2023 from ChatGPT. And in 2024, I have not met a single teacher. I go and deliver talk everywhere who has used ChatGPT for teaching in the classroom. Now imagine you are standing in the classroom, we're talking about classroom management, and the student in the classroom is using ChatGPT. Again, I'm not talking about the free version which anybody can download. I'm talking about the paid version because the difference in quality is almost 100x. So the student is using that and he stops you and says, madam, you are wrong. Imagine what is your status in the classroom. So I would suggest you better wake up in good time, start using tools and techniques of AI, which are plenty, which are available in a very, very big way. If you don't use all that, even if you don't use AI assistants, but at least you use ChatGPT 4.0 or similar platforms are there. Because somehow ChatGPT 4.0 is still the best out of, despite hallucination, despite wrong answers. But it is a very good assistant for you. Please use it. So classroom management, if you don't use the tools, you will be left behind. That's one part. Second part, Swasti, coming to your question of online education. As I made a statement that learning is going to become cheaper and cheaper. And teachers are going to become costlier and costlier. If the online education is not blended with classroom education, you're going to get into trouble. Now, how do you do it? Now, you can start with the free lessons available worldwide. The number of courses available from Harvard Business School, Stanford, MIT, and not to talk of Swayam and not to talk of NPTEL, etc. I'm talking of the best across the world, including UN Academy of Sustainability, including International Telecommunication Union. I'm talking about such places. So online courses are available. Please take at least some lessons from there and blend it with your classroom learning. That is the beginning of your task. Later on, please identify such courses which are worthy of being creditized. Put it through your board of studies in your department and let it be approved by the academic council or senate of your university or institute, and let it be integrated with your offline teaching. That is the future of education, and this is very, very well purported in NEP. This is very well stated in various guidelines issued by UGC. The more you delay it, you are the sufferer. Those who will take the lead will go ahead. That's very simple. I hope I have answered your question on online. If you have any questions.
So it was related to this only, like what is the future of, like if I start with something educational entrepreneurship, like, so it really answered well my queries, whatever I had.
Let me share with you, if you're talking about educational entrepreneurship, let me tell you, if you go to startupindia.com, there's such beautiful material there. Okay. Startupindia.com. Now, on entrepreneurship, there are beautiful online courses. Please blend the two. Go through ChatGPT 4.0 and develop a syllabus and float it if you can float it. That's the way to float it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another topic is, can you give us some tips on developing academic leadership skills?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting and very difficult question, because when we talk about academic leadership, I have very different viewpoints. There are lots of people in very good institutions who think the people who do not do research can never be academic leader. But there are a lot of people who are into education. They have done research, they have had their scholars, and yet they are vice chancellor and still they are doing very well. So what they do is, their scholar who have become senior professor, their scholars, when they write, they put the name of the, their supervisor and supervisor. So their numbers keep growing up. So those are only tricks of the trade. But to be a good academic leader, again, one thing is your connectivity with students on one hand, and in academic leadership, your connectivity with the teachers on the other hand. That is second. And the third is the policies, statutes, knowledge of that, governance. Now, if you operate at 3 level, then only you can be an acceptable academic leader. Now, for example, if you are HOD, you need not be very strong on the statutes level, but at least you should be closer to the deans and the vice chancellor if you are HOD. So that's how you have to take the progression in the academic career. And again, before getting in there, you should decide you want to be an academician, or you want to be an educationist, or you want to be both. There are very few people like Professor Ved Prakash, who was UGC chairman, and there are few who have been good at both. But normally people are good in one and not in good in both. So academic leadership is cultivating various stakeholders versus cultivating only academic intellectual rigors. That's the difference.
Yes, sir. So there is one question by Mr. Akash Kaushik. How to manage AI content in our research? I mean, this is related to the previous topic, because even if you are not using ChatGPT, but indeed, I mean, one need the Quillbot. What are the regulations for AI in research publications?
Very frankly, Mr. Akash Kaushik or Dr. Akash Kaushik, very frankly, there are no AI regulations as far as research publication as on is concerned, because this is such a fast evolving area. I don't think there can be regulation, except of course plagiarism related, guidelines will always be there everywhere. But let me share with you a very interesting example. Just a few weeks back, I got a PhD thesis. And I'm sharing something, I don't know whether as a teacher I should share with you or not. But I put the entire thesis on ChatGPT 4.0. And then I got response to all the questions, including chapter-wise review, including my questions in terms of methodology, including asking the ChatGPT to give me overall review and criticism, including the questions which were asked from me as an examiner. Everything I put on ChatGPT 4.0, and I was absolutely amazed and amused to see the response of ChatGPT 4. It was hilarious. It was so good. So my answer to your question is, as far as guidelines are concerned, I don't think you will see many. As far as using the content of these things is concerned, I would suggest please use it as a help. Please use it as an assistant. So you do your work independently, but always cross-check with the AI tools, and that will help you. But don't start with AI tools. That's my suggestion to you, because that will offend your supervisor, because I'm sure your supervisor will not be using AI tools. And if your supervisor आपसे नाराज हो गया, तो आपकी PhD वहीं खत्म. So the trick of the trade.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
The trade is to use it to your advantage intelligently without making noise about it. Like I made the noise that I put the PhD thesis into this. I should not have said that.
Okay. So like our next question is like how to navigate research and funding opportunities in academia.
Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. And let me tell you, those of you who will not be able to raise funds in times to come will not have a good career. Mind it. Because the government funding is going to go down and down and down. And the individual university and the individual institution's capability to bring funds is going to be more and more and more important. So in times to come, maybe 10 years down the road, if we are selecting an assistant professor, we will see his potential of bringing in and raising funds. I'm putting it very plainly. So now come to research. Research is of two types. One is called basic research or academic research or fundamental research, which helps in expanding the body of knowledge, which is academic in nature. Fundamentals, principles, postulates, theories, concepts. That is called basic research or academic research. For example, Berlin University is very good for physics. The other research is what is being stipulated in by Government of India since 2014. That is applied research. That is, what will this research bring to my industry, to my corporate world, to my government, to my society, how is your research going to be beneficial to country, government, to nation, to society, and to industry, and to commerce, and to business? Now, these are two different things. And the second part is quite often also called in some of the institutions as sponsored research. For example, ISRO may ask you to develop a particular thing relating to spacecraft, and ISRO is making payment to the professor for doing this job. That's a sponsored research. Or Hero Group is asking a professor of mechanical engineering to look at the dynamics of the wheel to make it more effective. That is again a sponsored research. That's not academic research. So please remember, these are two different types of research, and so writing a proposal for both will be different. That's point number one. Point number two, very unfortunately, most of the people, they are writing to the same sources. Same sources means UGC, AICT, DST, and Indian Council of Social Science, and Indian Council of Historical Research. And now what happens? There are too many applications and too little of money. So you are breaking your head at a wrong place. Now, instead of doing that, if you do it, say, for the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Rural Development, at the center, at the state government, or such different places where nobody goes. Now, the intelligent thing is the second part. How do you do it? Which is a workshop by itself. I will not dwell on that right now. But I am giving you a broad idea that first identify where you want to go. The second is, how do you make a team of you should have different teams, and you should have different teams of 2, 3, 4 different types of teachers. Somebody may be good in statistics, somebody may be good in communication, somebody may be good in getting students as interns, somebody may be good in corporate connections or government connections. So you should always have a team of 2, 3, 4, minimum 2, maximum 4 persons to be joint proposal writers, because it should almost never should be done individually, unless it is a very highly specialized area where you specialize and there are nobody else like that. So make your teams separately. The next thing is, never write the proposal in the first instance. Always make one-page note and try to go and meet the beneficiary, whoever, whether industry or government department or IAS officer or district magistrate or whoever. Please meet in person. Try to find out what is it that they want, and then only make a rough draft of proposal, and then go back and show it to them, and then they will say, delete this, add this, they will suggest. And there is no way your proposal will not be okayed. Now, what happens in reality? A teacher sees some advertisement somewhere, teacher sits down and applies Google search and all resources and writes a long proposal, which may have review of literature running into few pages, and their CVs running into few pages, and the party on the other side is just not interested in all this. They want to know, what will you do, how will you do, and what is the outcome. Because whoever gives money, they are interested in results, they are not interested in your stories. So the teacher who has submitted this application waits and waits and waits and does not even get acknowledgement of the application being given, and then the teacher complains that they have not even responded to my application. This is a very standard practice in all academic institutions. And my answer is, this is the most foolish way of writing proposals, because they are not sitting there to give you money. It is you who has to get the money. So you should know how to do it. So it has to be done in a very systematic manner. So if you would like to have a separate workshop on that, I can do that for you.
Sure, sir. I will definitely plan on that. But there is one query.
Sure, sir. We will be delighted to join such workshops.
You people can get your, what you want, you can give to Sabha, and
yes,
Sabha can coordinate with me. What are the requirements you have? Because each topic I am talking, like education, I have not covered. I was halfway through. I have not discussed about education at all. I'm feeling very bad that I did not cover that topic. So what was being stated in this particular discussion, I think everything I'm covering, almost 50%, not entirely.
Exactly. Yes, sir. We have planned 3, 4 more topics with you, and definitely we will plan for that. So there's one question related to this by Dr. Parvez Alam Khan. Is there any way to apply for research grants? And he's an Indian fellow and right now working in Malaysia.
My answer to that will be try to find out wherever there is synergy between Government of Malaysia and Government of India. So what are the areas where Government of India and Government of Malaysia are, doing some cooperative activity, which is not difficult to get at all. So you have Indian Chamber of Commerce in Kuala Lumpur, for example. You have many other resources from where you will get the appropriate information. Okay. And taking that as a clue, then you find out where should you apply. Okay. By being in Malaysia, try to find out the advantage of being in Malaysia rather than looking at the disadvantage of being in Malaysia. And I see no reason that you may not get funding. You may get funding even from Government of Malaysia as well. Don't forget that. So funding can come from even multilateral agencies. Please remember that. The number of, I tell you very interesting things about. I am associated with few universities where copyrights should be commercialized. Okay. Intellectual property rights. If as any engineering faculty you have a patent, what do you do after patent? You write it in your CV and that's the end of the story, which is a very bad thing. Patent should get converted into startup or patent should be sold and you should earn royalty and all that. How does that happen? So there should be an office of commercialization of IPRs, as in the best universities in America. In India, you don't have any. So I've been trying to sell this idea, and accidentally in Harvard Business School, I came across a course which is free of cost on this. So if you are a teacher and if you are making CV and you have done such free courses, trust me, this is pointed to you, that you add a lot of value to your CV by doing such things. Okay. So the point is you can get lots of things. For example, this UN Academy of Sustainability. They have free courses, they have paid courses, they have short courses, they have long courses, they have courses with examination, they have courses without examination. And today is the day when you must work in sustainability area. Right? Today I did not touch SDG 4, Sustainability Development Goal 4. Now that itself is a history by itself. If you talk about education, you should know SDG 4. So there are plenty of opportunities. Being in Malaysia, where do you see value? First identify that and then work on it. I don't see any reason you will not get the money.
Right, sir. So another question is on building this. Just a clarification he want on building research team. Should it be based on the skill like those good at analysis, review, etc., or it should be based on expertise area like finance?
Who is asking this question?
Mr. Gautam R.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you, there are two kinds of things which happen here. One is you make team with people you are comfortable with, and you don't look at various skill sets. Another is you look for complementarity and supplementarity in your team. So there are people who are very good in handling the tools and analysis, and they can't write 3 sentences of English straight. So they need a person who can write good English, and they supplement and complement by giving analytical inputs. Now, when we go for faculty appraisal, let me share that with you. When we go for faculty appraisal, we immediately make out what are the teams and who has done what. Okay. So the moral of the story is that you may start with the teams, but if you don't learn from each other and you remain confined to your specialization, then this will not go a very long way to help you. Because someday or the other team will break and you will not be able, you will be rendered useless because the other component you're not getting, or you'll have to find out an alternative. But for research, funding research proposal, this must be supplemented and complemented for writing research proposal. So writing research paper is a different thing. Writing research proposal is a different thing. So again, you have advantages and disadvantages in both the cases. And it will also depend on the area of study you are doing, because you may not get the right people also. That's not ruled out. So you will have to go by the situation as it prevails.
Okay. So another question is, sir, what one must not do in a proposal in order to get a funding by asked by Dipali Vanya.
Yeah, again, I repeat what I said earlier. Don't direct it to the wrong person. For example, in Government of India, the people who take decision are only at two levels. One is called director, another is called joint secretary. Joint secretary is most likely IAS officer. If your proposal can reach joint secretary and if it is good, there's no way you will not get funding. But most of the time, most of the proposals are at the level of the director. Now, if you are in NCR, it is better that once in a while try to meet the gentleman. And meeting the gentleman also requires a art because you cannot get appointments straight away. That's another matter, which if we will have again another session, I'll detail that also. But meet that gentleman and then discuss first, and then only, as I told, go with one-page proposal to start with. Then show the draft proposal and then make the final proposal to the person who is the decision maker. That's the way exactly to go about it. Now, this may not be possible for everybody who is outside of NCR, but this may be possible with your state governments. This may be possible with your municipal corporation. This may be possible with your special purpose vehicles in your area. So the methodology, as I said, is very simple. What not to do is to make a detailed proposal, spend hours and hours doing something which will not even be looked upon. Not to do that. Not to attach long CVs. Not to write long review of literature. Nobody is interested in your review literature. You can simply put it in one paragraph that you have done review literature of this, and you have found out this is what the gap is. One paragraph is more than enough. This is not research paper. This is not PhD thesis that you are writing 3 pages on review of literature. So this is another thing you should not do. And if there are any specific questions, again, I'll answer that on this.
I mean, this will lead us to the next topic. What is the power of networking in academia and how to build one? Because it is all related to the networking, which lastly you said.
Yeah, in fact, it is not only academia, it is anywhere in any career that without networking, you don't go too far. You may go so far, but not beyond. Today, if you talk about vice chancellors and directors and all those people, not that they are not good, they may be good, but if they are good and they are without networking, they will not reach where they have reached. So networking is critical. It's not only important, it is critical. And the networking starts by, right from the beginning, if you are at the lowest level, at the level of assistant professor, please get industry and commercial people, including, or even senior teachers, including from other academic institutions in your board of studies. That is the least you can do. So it starts from board of studies, where you can have these kind of people included. It starts from calling them to give a seminar, workshop, conference, or whatever. It also invites them to deliver talk in the classroom to the students. And even if many times it is not paid, or many times you cannot pick up the expenses, please remember student bodies come forward and they handle it from their funds. So you have to come forward and don't blame it every time on your HOD or dean that this is not happening. There are various ways of doing it. And you should go to other institutions to teach. You should go to other institutions to have collaborative arrangements like joint teaching. You should go to other institutions to have that research team which you are talking about in building. These are the various aspects where you should evolve in terms of your networking. These are just few which I have stated, but of course it can go on and on.
Right, sir. So, our last question for today is, what would be the strategy for long-term career planning in academic field?
Well, it is a very slow and long journey.
Yes.
Now, academia, unlike industry, talks about yearly, half-yearly, quarterly results, sometimes even weekly, and the government has to, or the public servants have, or the political parties have to go back for election every 3 or 5 years. But the teachers, unka time ka khana khali hota hai, so there's nothing like time frame. So teachers are quite often laid back, relaxed, and they don't do what is required to be done. They're slow in moving forward. So when you begin, again, as I said, you have to be able to service possibly all stakeholders, or at least identify the stakeholders you want to service in a particular order. And things like networking, research papers, raising funds, all these things go in hand. If I am doing consultancy, I'm making money for myself, I'm making money for my institution, I'm developing case studies, I'm teaching, I'm sharing my experience with my classroom students. Now, consultancy is to be taken like that, that मैं तो एक तीर में 5 शिकार कर रहा हूं. अगर मैं consultancy को ऐसे नहीं देखता हूं, तो मेरा consultancy करना meaningless है. So this is the approach you have to take right from beginning in your academic career. Build upon all these pillars, and in today's world, online, AI, ML, quantum, if you are not ahead of the curve, like I said, sustainability, climate change, these are the kind of areas which are upcoming. If you're not moving into that, you will be left behind. And then you should be extremely good in the fundamental or basic research. Then, there's the other end you can look at. But for long-term career success, you have to fire on all cylinders, go forward on all the things. I'm sure sooner or later you'll be known something where you achieve excellence and you'll be respected for that.
Right, sir. So, that's all for today, sir. Sir, we are left with one general question.
Yeah.
By Sheikh Afri. I mean, she wanted to ask, could you guide me on the postdoctoral fellowship opportunities abroad for the scholars in commerce and management? But her additional question is, after completing a PhD, which career path is more beneficial, pursuing a postdoctoral fellowship or becoming an assistant professor?
You see, you are mixing up two different things. One is what should you do after PhD? Yes. Academic or non-academic? That's one part.
Right.
So I would think there are lots of opportunities in today's world when the startups are coming in, learning, teaching area and edutech, etc. So if you don't want to follow academic career, there's nothing wrong. There still will be lots of opportunities and you will be respected in lots of places. So it is not necessary to go academic route, but if you are in love with campus life, interaction with students, and you enjoy that kind of life, then go for academics. That's one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is postdoctoral fellowship. Now, there are two things. Should you do it or should you not do it? Now, there has to be a clear reason why should you do postdoctoral fellowship. Now, a lot of people want to do postdoctoralship because of the thappa or the stamping or the name of the institution where they are going, so that they can keep on adding it in their CV to be able to say that they have done their postdoctoral fellowship from such and such place. That may add to their CV. Very frankly, that could be one objective. Another objective could be your spouse is in that country, so you have free time, so you register yourself for postdoctoral fellowship. Third is you're not getting a job, proper job, so in the meanwhile, you want to finish your postdoctoral fellowship. So there could be very, very different reasons for doing postdoctoral fellowship. So first is identify what is the reason, and then select the place appropriately. Now, this is very important. Now, if you are doing it for the heck of academic rigor and knowledge and for the love of knowledge, then you should be very careful in choosing the right person, which is key. Then go to a Nobel laureate, go to the best of the universities and try to do it from there, which will truly enrich you. But if you are doing it from the CV perspective, then you see convenience, where you get it, where you get scholarship, where you don't have to shell out much money, because postdoctoral fellowship does not necessarily always mean fully funded. Quite often it is fully funded, but not always. So the purpose has to be clear, then only it should be done. And the last thing, if you think it is going to be of great help in getting a good job, my answer is no, it does not. Because the same years you have wasted in not teaching, the same years if you had taught, it would have been counted as teaching experience post-PhD. But instead of teaching, you have gone for postdoctoral fellowship. And if your credentials, starting from high school, intermediate, graduation, post-graduation, are not great, and you have just done postdoctoral PhD from a good institution, that does not fetch you a good job. And very often in our selection process, we do not care much about postdoctoral fellowship unless it is technically in an area which is a technical, say engineering or science interview. That's a different story. So I hope I have answered your question. Sabha, there are lots of questions in the chat box. If you want to take any, you're welcome. Otherwise, we'll close it.
Sir, I have covered like every question
Okay.
related to like, yes, our topic. And I mean, if anyone want to like interact with sir, they can like open their mic and ask their question. We have 2 hand raised.
Yeah, let them ask.
Yeah. So, I think, I mean, you have answered.
Sir,
Yeah.
this is Gayatri, assistant professor.
Mhm.
I'm just in the process of registering for part time. So, in that case, what would they expect in the presentation at the interview?
Oh, that's a very interesting, important question you asked because this was left out. So your question is, if you are registering for as a PhD scholar at the time of screening or presentation or at the time of interview, what questions will be asked? That's your question, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, my answer is very clear and very simple, and which most of the people who go for this do not know. What happens, the people sitting on the other side are mostly teachers, okay, who take your presentation. And please remember, the student who does the mistake talks a lot about what is called domain knowledge. And the people sitting on the other side are just not interested in your domain knowledge. So after some time, after 5-10 minutes of your presentation, they stop you and then they start asking you searching questions like, how will you do it? What will be your research design? What will be your sample size? What will be your sample design? So my request to you is
generic questions.
Yeah. Generic question in the sense, of course, they are asking in relation to, first of all, they'll ask you what is the topic of your research. So you may say you have not decided, or you may say my broad area is this. Okay. And then they ask pointed questions depending upon what your first response is. But whatever you decide to work in area, whichever area, you should learn the methodology broadly. You're not expected to be master of methodology, which is the job of your supervisor. You're a beginner. But if you don't even know what is universe and what is sample size, what is sample type, if you don't even know there's a difference between quantitative research and qualitative research, if you don't know the basics, validation and the correctness of the data and those kind of things, these are very basic things. So because you're in academia, you are all the more expected to know basics of that. Wherever you get stuck, because many of the times the people on the other side, they start giving you gyan then and there only. So please do not offend them, because this is a very sensitive situation. Do not offend them and tell them, yes, I need to learn this, and close the argument at that. Don't get into a discussion or argument. So that's the only thing I can suggest you right now.
Okay, sir. And sir, when it comes to the thesis, like I'm interested in doing more of the real world projects. So in that case, what would be the best platform to get to know of all these things?
No, what did you say you want to do in what?
Real time projects. Like my thesis should get into the real time projects.
Let me tell you, one of the most recent developments in IIMs is that the PhD theses are coming by way of 2 essays on such and such, 3 essays on such and such, which was not happening 10 years back. Okay. So that's like synthesizing the information. So if your research guide and the research committee approves you of what you are doing, and this turns out to be a case study or live case, then you can take such a topic. But what is most important is, it is not what you want to do which carries weight. It is your guide who decides what will carry weight, and you got to be sensitive on that.
Yeah, right, sir.
So the key lies in there. You try to sell what you want to sell in terms of you want to do this or you want to do that, and ask them how can you do it. So they'll tell you how to do it. So you may be collecting data on a live project, or you doing sample study, or you may be doing whatever. You may be using interview method when you're doing qualitative research or whatever. But that will also be done under the guidance of your supervisor. Without that, talking about it is waste of time.
Okay, sir. And in the future, like in the AI world, in the future, what are the prospects for the teachers or for the researchers, which is has a good opportunity?
I believe both will remain important, because you see, teaching learning process, the methodologies, the pedagogy, and those kind of things will change. But the relationship between teacher and student, especially in residential campuses, is not going to change. And online thing, you will have to learn to blend it more intelligently, most intelligently. So I don't think that is going to affect the career as a teacher. And you can also have outside teaching a lot to do in edutech. For example, in today's world, I think none of the university has any clue what kind of online courses they should integrate with their programs, because their teachers have no time to go and find out what kind of courses should be integrated. So you can have your edutech doing that kind of thing. So there's a lot of scope and potential. Unfortunately, all edutech startups in India, many of my students included, they are all concentrated on JEE coaching and NEET coaching and getting the student ready for the campus placement and things like that. Beyond that, nobody is applying their mind to edutech area at all. So there's a lot of scope and potential of doing a lot of things. Today, only one very senior teacher was talking with me, and he has been given the responsibility in a very good university for internationalization. Now, there's a very interesting area. This gentleman is not basically an academician. He has joined, he's joined from industry, and he has been given the task of internationalization of his university. So these are various kinds of opportunities will crop up over a period of time. It's not just teaching learning, but teaching learning will still remain at the core.
But there are talks like going like there will be a lot of jobs that will be replaced by AI. And so I just got a notion like maybe creative work, of course, AI doesn't do. But when it has come to human, like creative work, they do. Whereas when it comes to repetitive jobs, AI is already fed with through machine learning and those things all. So in that case, like research will have a good. I got the notion. Like I'm not sure, sir. Is
No,
it right?
you're not wrong. But let me give you an example. Are you a management teacher by any chance?
Yes, I'm computer science basically.
Okay, now let me give you an example of finance paper like financial accounting. One of the things we do is financial statement analysis. Now, financial statement analysis will become much easier with AI, much easier with AI. Okay, but if I ask a teacher whom I am selecting in the interview board as assistant professor, I ask him the question, what is the most important thing to look at in IT companies like Infosys or Wipro and these kind of companies? What's the most important thing to look at? Okay, and the teacher says debt equity ratio, which is a standard answer. Okay. Now, the teacher does not know none of these companies had debt. So he's going fundamentally wrong. Now, ChatGPT will not discover this for you, that there is no debt. Okay. So this is where your intelligence and creativity comes, which is over and above AI. So, so the routine tasks you may get done from AI, which will help you to get more time to do creative thinking and creative application of mind. And so I don't think it's going to replace the jobs, but the people who don't learn, that is true even as of today, number of teachers after the age of 40, they stop learning at all. And they're using old notes to go to the classroom.
Yeah.
So if you don't use it, you will be written off anyways because the world is moving so fast. Your student will write you off, forget about your institution.
Yeah. And AI robot, like there are AI robot in the teaching. So there are a lot of schools that are implementing.
Yeah.
So those, yeah.
So schools have actually gone much more ahead with use of AI and robots than the universities are falling far, far behind. I'm sorry to say that I'm part of many universities in the governance, but I don't see that happening, unfortunately. So schools are doing much better as far as use of AI and robots is concerned. Even Acaddmics is again for schools, basically.
But when it comes to research, like AI should be restricted to some extent because it will try to overtake the human race. Is it right, sir?
You're talking about AGI, you're talking about artificial general intelligence. I don't want to get into that because other people will not understand that discussion. So I'll stop at that. But it's a question of you being ahead of AI as long as you can be. Let me put it this way.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I would like to thank you all who have joined the session. So I hope we have answered all the queries and the questions. So I think, like, sir, we can wind up this session now. And really, I would like to thank you.
My apologies for the camera today. There's a second time it has happened because I don't know it happened in Google Meet only. Unfortunately, not on other. So maybe next time don't use Google Meet.
Maybe, sir, they want the.
And thank me and close this session.
So yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, for giving us the time, and definitely we are going to disturb you again for the so many sessions we have. We want to line up for you. So I would like to thank you for today's session, and definitely we will have some more in the future with you. Thank you for joining, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So